Today is April the 29th, 2024. The Margie Mano story, part 1. Facing transnational organized crime head-on. My name is Maria Jane Goddard. I am the youngest of Margie Mano's 3 children, Knox spelled K-N-O-X. Kathleen Davis, who is a citizen of the USA, and John Knox, who is a citizen of Barbados, are my siblings. Our mother's family has lived in Barbados since the 1600s. Barbados is the most easterly of the Caribbean islands and one of the most beautiful and welcoming of them all. Transnational organized crime and corruption are posing a real threat to our way of life, our basic human rights, and particularly our freedom of speech, which is under fierce attack. Mom was terrorized, extorted, and forced to flee her Barbados home in 2008 at the age of 86 because of her interest in her Barbados registered 1958 family trust company, Kingsland Estates Limited, which owns more than 1,100 acres of prime real estate, originally sugar plantation lands, valued at more than $1 billion, including 2 acres beachfront land on the south coast. Most of our family land is directly on or near to the main airport to West Coast Industrial Access Highway and to the Grant Lee Adams International Airport. In 1992, all of our family land was rezoned by the Barbados government in favor of a Canadian company for tourism development as part of a multi-billion-dollar US project. Mom lived in Florida from 2008 until her death on September the 29th, 2017. At her death, Mom still owned 28,570 shares in Kingsland. On August 11, 2021, Mom's Miami estate and trust were awarded a final judgment on damages from a Miami court in the amount of $269 million. This was a racketeering case based on evidence gathered and safely stored by my brother and me over more than 40 years. The equal beneficiaries of our mother's estate are her 3 children. The racketeers, backed by billionaires, control the racketeering case and our mother's estate and trust. The collapse of several CL financial companies, the Kiko Ponzi scheme, was described by Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, in 2010 as a scandal of monumental proportions and one of the largest financial failures in the country. More than 280,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados alone were impacted by this monumental racket. 15 years later, no one has been held accountable. Google the history of Republic Bank, Trinidad. Our family is not plantocracy. Our grandfather, Ebenezer Esther Dean, was born in 1891. He was the son of a tailor. He grew up in a small home in Oyston's fishing town in Christchurch, opposite to where the post office is now. Oyston's is now a popular tourist attraction. He was bright and became a teacher at the Boys Foundation School in Christchurch. He then got a job as bookkeeper at Kingsland Sugar Factory in Christchurch. The Evelyn family of Wharton Estates Limited owned Kingsland Factory. The manager of the factory died of typhoid fever, and Grandad was promoted to manager. He moved his wife and young children into Kingsland House around 1917. Mom is the 5th of his 7 children. She was born in 1922. Our grandmother, Ilma Kathleen Dean, nee Ashby's family, lived a very short distance from Oyston's near Enterprise, in a place we know as Alma or Below Rock. Mom and her siblings still own 12 acres of prime real estate there, also very close to the airport. our family has faced the same discrimination people of color faced in the past. Granddad, Granny, and their 7 children made a family plan which required hard work and sacrifice, which thankfully improved their difficult circumstances. On January 13, 1939, Granddad took out a mortgage and bought Adams Castle Plantation as sole proprietor. He then bought Kingsland Factory. World War II started in September of that same year, 1939. Barbados produced all of the food that the country needed during World War II. By the end of the war, the huge demand for sugar made it very profitable. By 1946, Grandad had cleared his mortgage. In 1948, he bought Husbands and Oxnard's plantations in St. James, and in 1949, set up a tenancy in common with himself, his wife, and his 7 children as equal tenants in common. The tenants in common went on to buy Hanson Plantation and Spinecock beachfront property on the south coast. By 1958, the 9 family tenants in common owned 1,133 acres plus other valuable assets, which they conveyed into their family trust company called Kingsland Estates Limited in exchange for equal shares and an undertaking which was agreed by them all. As to the residue of the consideration for the said sale, the company shall undertake to pay, satisfy, discharge, and fulfill all of the debts, liabilities, contracts, and engagements of the vendors in relation to the said plantations as from the 1st day of July, 1958, and shall indemnify the vendors against all proceedings, claims, and demands in respect thereof. The family did not depend on agriculture alone, but entered into lucrative joint ventures to develop the Rab and marginal Kingsland family lands. They added Wotton Plantation, Christchurch, Bannatyne Plantation, Christchurch, Edgerton House in St. George, and another beachfront property adjacent to Spinecock called Craigwell. Things began to change in 1964 when the 400 acres at Husbands and Oxnards was acquired by Mr. Errol Walton Barrow at 3 cents per square foot, and the majority of the 400 acres was developed privately. Then came the conveying of 175 acres at Wotton Plantation to Key Homes Barbados Limited in 1975 at 6 cents per square foot for private development, signed, sealed, and delivered by Barclays Bank International Limited, Mr. Harold Caswell Carter and Mr. Leslie Trevor Gonzalez, signed on behalf of Barclays Bank International Limited. Mr. Winston Anthony Lane signed as secretary, and Mr. Carlton Brathwaite signed as director for Key Homes. The terrorism and extortion our family faces is as a result of the commitments made by senior civil servants in the Barbados government who continue to benefit from the fraud in relation to the lands of our family trust company, Kingsland Estates Limited, including Sir David Anthony Cathcart Simmons, King's Counsel, and Sir Philip Graves, King's Counsel. Do not be distracted by the race talk. The thieves who are perpetuating the Clicquot Ponzi fraud do not care what color the hundreds of thousands of victims and counting are. The Margie Ilmanock story to be continued.